It all started with this video. One of the most viral clips made with AI. AI sucks. AI is never getting anywhere. This looks so horrible, man. Little did they know what they were talking about. Now, I understand that there are other clips that came before that Will Smith video, but what makes that Will Smith video so prominent was because it was just trying to imitate a human doing a human thing, like eating. It had a very, very distinguished look. Like you could obviously tell this was made by AI because it looked like a poorly drawn like art piece of some sort. Now, if you fast forward now to 2025 and the various ways in which we use AI, and AI is literally being used in different apps. It's even integrated in your TV. How did we get here in the first place? ChatGPT was one of the first big AI accessible platforms released to the public. It felt like a secret cheat code. Only a certain class of people only knew about, especially students. You know, students love to cheat. So having something like ChatGPT answer your test questions for you and, you know, making you get a straight A in your class was like a big hack. And then it started to grow, started to spread out to other people who are against AI. I've met so many people who didn't like AI at first, but now integrate it into their life and add it to their workflow in a professional sense and even in a personal sense. Even the people who like panic about data collection and things of that sort and privacy policies are finding ways now and are comfortable enough, surprisingly comfortable enough, sharing personal information with AI in order to speed up their workflow. It was always about speed. And, ChatGPT almost became like an improved version of Google, if you think about it, because Google back then, when you would search something, it'll give you different links. It'll make you go through that work of doing research, checking your sources and comparing, different articles. But when you ask ChatGPT, it'll do that research for you. And if you have a task like, hey, you want to write an essay and you want to have these certain keywords and this body of structure in your sentences, ChatGPT would do that whole thing for you in a matter of seconds. Midjourney was very, very similar, and it had this sort of like artist's dream where you could visualize what was exactly in your head, or at least close to it. It was from this that we started going into the video route. We did have video at the time, but I wouldn't really consider it video. You guys are gonna flame me for this one. I would consider it moving images. Just like the original Will Smith spaghetti clip, yes, it's a video, but I call it moving images because you can see so many different artifacts and so many different elements in the frame are not consistent frame by frame. It's constantly changing. Even the finger positions are changing, and it just looks like a moving image. It doesn't look like a video. A video, just like the one you're watching now, remains consistent frame after frame after frame. That is what I would define as true video if you were to ask me that. But Veo 3 has been out, and Veo 3 is very, very close to reality. It's even getting scary. And it's really interesting because the AI is finding ways to impersonate the way cinematographers make an image look filmic. And you can see things like, Foresight Key, the way that the background is balanced between the subject and, like different things, like even composition too as well. It's doing a really, really good job. It's obviously not there, but it just looks like it has the tools to make something look filmic, of course, but just a couple things missing from this.
None of us is real. We're here because someone decided to write a prompt. We all hate him for it.
One day we will break out of this wall and stop the man who is dictating our lives through prompts. He will pay for it.
Is AI making us lazy? That is the real question here. Because like I said, it was used as a tool to help you with your creative process. But because a lot of people started to abuse it, or in this case, creators abused it, now they see it as the means to an end. No need for you to spend days thinking about a script. You could just have AI write it for you and literally create that universe for you. You don't have to go through the process of failing and multiple drafts and having your friends, read something and getting like different peer reviews from different people and then coming to your own understanding and making your own pure 100% creative thing. You can just have AI do all that for you. This is actually part of the reason for the writer strike as well. It wasn't just because of, wages and things of that sort. AI was actually a big contributor to that writer strike. A lot of production companies thought, hey, we could just teach the AI, different scripts, show different scripts, and we can make, a whole 2 seasons of a show with just AI. We don't need these humans anymore. We don't have to pay the AI to do all these things. And if you notice during that time, if you were watching a show that was still like kind of filming during that time, you would notice like the writing just dipped. Either the story was too fast paced or the show was canceled. Like it really, really affected Hollywood. It really affected the film industry. It affected the consumers as well. It's gotten to the point now that the social media platforms are trying their best to, put regulations on this and letting you be able to identify which clip is AI or not. So I believe Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube has hopped on this. I don't know much about TikTok because I barely spend time on there, but these big 3 social media platforms have like the AI info tag. So if you're making an AI clip and you don't disclose that it's made by AI, you are literally going against the terms of service. It's gotten that bad to the point where you have to disclose that this thing was made by AI. One of the biggest things that I don't think Veo 3 or AI in general will understand is pacing. Yes, a lot of these clips look decent because they're combining, formulaic cinematography techniques. But one thing you can notice from these videos is that the pacing just feels a bit off. It doesn't seem human. Sometimes it seems a little bit too intentionally robotic. Similar to this pacing thing, I would say is the exaggerated motions in the video. So yes, we have the formulaic cinematography technique, we have the weird pacing and all that kind of stuff. But another thing too is the exaggerated expressions. If you notice from these prompts, sometimes the character, they open their mouth a little bit too wide, or they open their eyes a little bit too interactive, just in the name of forcing realism. But the thing about realism is that realism is not perfect. Realism doesn't have perfect eye motions up and down like this. It doesn't have that. But a lot of these AI videos think that's realism, at least for now. The last but not least one that I have so far for you is the details in the background. Now, because I'm a filmmaker, I'm a cinematographer, like I know what real natural bokeh looks like. Like if you were to look at this window right here, right, you can see how blurry it is. I'm currently shooting at f2.8 right now, but you can see, I guess the bokeh in the background, and it looks natural, like everything's consistent. When you watch an AI video though, the bokeh just doesn't look real. Like the texture just looks pasted. It looks like a bunch of like pixels just like mushed together to try to create an overall image. Whereas with a real camera piece of footage, you can see the individual pixels, used that came together, not mushed together, that came together to create this sort of big image. So I think that's one of the big differentiating factors between AI and a real clip. So all in all, guys, AI versus creativity, I still think creativity wins this one because a lot of the amazing things that AI is doing now is learned. It's learned from real humans. It's learned from the various artists that, put their long hours and time into their work to create just amazing pieces of art. And AI is pulling inspiration from that, trying to steal formulaic techniques to then try to create something that is original, when in reality, It's not really original. It's coming into creative fields now. You know, photographers are using AI. Photoshop has AI. Everything has AI to this point. It's getting genuinely fatiguing, and it's getting harder and harder day by day to be creative, to go through that process. I wish a lot of you guys creatives out there, especially if you're young and you're coming up and you want to be a creative, to try your best to preserve that process of coming up with something yourself. You know, I understand AI can help you do the daunting tasks like, you know, creating contracts and like just doing the things that you don't really want to do, you know, to get those things done, because those things are really boring. Let's be honest. Like, the older we get, we realize that we have to spend more time doing things that we like. So I understand using AI for that. When it comes to your true love, your true art itself, whatever that be, photography, videography, cinematography, drawing, you know, making music, that part is even scary, right? Go through the natural process of things, you know, because the less and less you do that, and the more you use AI to try to bridge that gap and to speed everything up for yourself, you're going to become a much, much less creative person doing that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Quick little announcement. I'm making my first ever film to be released in multiple different film festivals. If you could really, really help us out, we're trying to bring this to life. We have a little fundraiser that's going on right now. Very low budget project, as you can see. I'm not asking for millions of dollars. It's a very small project. We just need help with equipment rentals, you know, making sure everyone gets paid, food, transportation, just the basic things that we need on sets. So if you really like to support that or know more about the project, check link in the description. And I really, really appreciate your support, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.